All right, so here we're going to look at homework 1.1, and I'm going to talk about a few problems here. Let's start with problem number 1. Number 1, you're asked to solve, and your equation may not look identical to this, but it may be similar to this. So you should be able to follow the same kind of steps. All right, so we have negative 7 over 4x plus 1 over 4 equals negative 12. What we notice in this problem is that we have some denominators. And we notice that the denominators are the same, right? So here we only have our least common denominator to be 4. So, because we found our least common denominator to be 4, what we can do is multiply each part by 4. So times this by 4, times this by 4, and times this by 4. Okay, and now what you're doing here is you're really simplifying this out. So you can do negative 7 times 4. Right, you multiply that. This fraction means division. So first you do negative 7 times 4. Multiply that, you get negative 28. After you divide that by 4, you should notice that you're left with the whole number, which is negative 7, and you bring your x down. You bring your plus down, and you do the same thing. 1 times 4 is a 4. You divide it by 4, and you're left with 1. So left with 1. And now over there, we just multiply our negative 12 times our 4. And that leaves us with the negative 48. We want to get x by itself. So from here should be nice, easy steps. We just subtract 1 to both sides. You're left with negative 7x equals a negative 49. And then your last step would be just to divide by negative 7. Right, doing that gives us a solution of x equals 7. So a nice example of what your number 1 may look like. Let's take a look at our next one. Number 2, same but a little different, right? We have 7 over 5x plus 4 over 10x equals 36 over 10. A little different just because of the fact that now we have some different denominators. But don't forget how you find LCDs, right? We have 2 different denominators, and you're finding the multiples of them, right? Times 1, times 2, times 3. And you keep going until you find a number that's in common. Here it's pretty quick. Here this is 5. That's... Oh. Looks like my pen's dying. That's 10. Here is 10. So your LTD there is 10. Right? But this is how we find our LTDs. Right? So we find our LTD to be 10, which means we're going to multiply each fraction, each part by 10. Okay? So your LTD is 10. So now we have, let's write each one of these down. Rewrite our problem. Now we're going to multiply by 10, multiply by 10, multiply by 10. All right, and same process, 7 times 10 divided by 5, right? So 7 times 10 is 70. When you divide that by 5, you get a 14. So this is a 14x plus 4 times 10 is 40. We divide it by 10. And that gives us a 4x. And then one more time, 36 times 10 is 360. You divide it by 10, it gives you 36. Right, so as I mentioned in our lecture, this is a process of transforming equations, right? We get rid of equations that have fractions and turn them into equations with just whole numbers. These are like terms, they can't be combined, so we're left with 18x equals 36. And then your last step would be to divide by 18. And we get an answer of 2. So a nice example here as well, number 2. Number 3 doesn't look too bad, neither does number 4. I think I want to talk about number 5 though. Or how about we talk about, let's take a look at 4 and then maybe 5. Okay, so number 4, we have 5x plus 4 equals a 12 minus a 4x plus an x, right? So we have no fractions, so we can just start simplifying. Here we see that we can combine these two, negative 4x plus, remember that's like a 1, right? That gives us a negative 3x. We can bring everything else down. We see x's on both sides, so let's get rid of the smaller one. I get rid of the minus 3x by adding 3x. Whenever we see letters on both sides, we always get rid of the smaller one. So now we're left with 8x plus 4 equals 12. And we continue here in order to get x by itself. All right, we need to get rid of the 4 first. And then our last step would be just to divide by 8. So actually this problem didn't look too bad there. Write our number 4. I really think it was the number 5 that I was trying to look at here. So let's take a look at that next one. Once again, I'm just kind of doing some random problems on your homework to help you out here. We have negative 11 plus 5x equals a 5x minus 11. All right, so with this example, we also have letters on both sides. But we notice that they're both the same, so it doesn't matter which one you get rid of first, okay? I'm going to go ahead and subtract 5x, subtract 5x. You notice that they cancel on both ends. They cancel on both ends, and we're left with negative 11 equals negative 11. This is an example of a true statement, because negative 11 does equal negative 11. And when we get a true statement, notice that first of all, no more letters are left. Variable's gone, right? We get a true statement here. This tells us that our solution is all real numbers. Right? So we get a true statement, our solution is all real numbers. Let's take a look at number 6 though. 18y minus 20 equals 8 plus 18y. Same thing, we see our y's on both sides, and we see that they're the same. All right, so if I get rid of this 18y, I also get rid of it on the other side. We see they completely cancel out. Here we're left with something like negative 20 equals 8. Negative 20 does not equal 8. Negative 20 equals negative 20, right? So this is a false statement. And because this is false, our solution is no answer, right? Or there is no solution here. Right, so really understanding the difference between 5 and 6, I think, is very important. Okay, let's take a look at example number 8. All right, now we start looking at some parentheses, and we have to start distributing. All right, so I'm going to kind of just rewrite this a little bit because what I noticed to be interesting is I don't see a number here, right? So really want to show that that's a 1, right? And because of that minus sign, now that makes it a negative 1. So let's distribute. 8 times 4, 32x. All right, then we do 8 times our 6, gives us a 48. We bring down the 11, and now this negative 1 we have to multiply. All right, so now that's a negative 1x. This negative 1 we multiply. That gives us a minus 7. Okay, but before we start moving some things around, we notice that we can combine. Right, we have 11 minus 7. Right, and when we subtract 11 minus 7, that gives us a 4. We bring everything else down. I see x's on both sides, so I'm going to get rid of the smaller one. I get rid of a minus x by adding 1x to both sides. Now I'm left with 33x plus a 48 equals a 4. And now all we have to do is get x by itself, right? We can subtract 48. Subtract 48. We get 33x equals, well, this looks like it's a negative 44. And we can divide by a 33. So this is x equals a negative 44 over 33. But this can be reduced, right? It can be reduced. So let's go ahead and reduce it here. It looks like we can divide both of these. And I think someone asked a question one time of what's the easy way to reduce. Well, you can always break these up, right? Break up 44. When you break up 44, it's 2 times 22 gives you 44, right? And then you break up 22, that's what? 2 times 11, right? And you broke it up to its prime numbers. 33, you break that up, that's 3 times 11. These are also prime numbers, which means, oops. I don't know how to get rid of this yet. I don't know what I did. Which means that this negative 44 over 33 really breaks up to a negative, our 44 is 2 to an 11. Our 33 was a 3 and 11. And we see those cancel out, so we're just left with a negative 4 over 3. Alright, so that's how we can prime factorize without the use of a calculator, or simplify fractions in lowest terms. Okay, let's take a look at number 9. I think number 9 is also a nice example. We have 7, open brackets, 2 minus 3, open parentheses, negative 8x minus 6, close parentheses, close bracket, equals 168x plus 140. We have a lot going on here, especially on this left-hand side. Right, let's start off with working in the inside of that bracket. So first, this negative 3, let's distribute. So I bring my 7 down, I bring my parentheses down, and I bring my 2 down. Now I multiply negative 3 times a negative 8. A negative and a negative, this is a positive. We multiply those two numbers, gives us 24x. We multiply negative 3 times a negative 6. Once again, negative makes a positive. 3 times 6 gives us 18. Notice how when we distributed, parentheses is gone now, right? Bring that closed bracket, and we bring everything else down. So now it's looking a little cleaner, right? It's looking a little cleaner here. Now this 7, let's distribute and multiply to each one of those as well. right? So 7 times our 2 is a 14, right? 7 times our 24 is 168x. And then 7 times your 18 is 126. And you bring everything else down. Right? Now from there we see some like terms that we can combine. 126 plus our 14 gives us 140. We bring everything else down. We have x's on both sides. Well, we subtract, and they're both the same, right? So it doesn't matter which one we subtract. Cancels. We're left with 140. Look at that. Equals 140. Here we get a true statement. It's again because it's a true statement. Tells us that our solution is all real numbers. So very good. Let's take a look at. I think 10's a great problem, but give it a shot. And if you have questions, by all means, send me an email or just send me a meeting invite, and we can work that one together because I really like to see you work that one out. But I think the last one that I'll do here, I think 11 is also a good problem that we can work on. So we have 1 over 7, open parentheses, 21y plus 21, close parentheses, minus a 7, equals a negative 1 over 6, open parentheses, 6y minus 24, close parentheses. So this problem looks really ugly, looks long. We have parentheses. We also have fractions, and we have 2 denominators, right? So let's find our LCD. All right, we have 7, we have 6. And remember, what you do is you do times 1, right? Times 2, times 3, right? Times 4. So let's take a look. All right, we have 7, 14, 21, right? 28. All right, we have 6, 12, 18, 24. Nothing in common, so we got to keep going, right? So times 5, times 6. All right, so this is what? This is a 30, right? And then we get a 42. And then this, I'm sorry, this is a 35. This is a 30. Right, we get 36, nothing yet. And if we do times 7, we'll see that our LCD is a 42. Right, so we find this LCD to be a 42. Keep it in mind that you do not multiply inside the parentheses. You do not do that. As I mentioned in our lecture, and you should have that on your notes as well. So, let me go ahead and just start by rewriting this. So it's just this fraction by 42. Not the inside. It's negative 7 by 42. And it's negative 1 over 6 by 42. So once again, we do not multiply inside the parentheses. Okay, we do 1 times 42. That's a 42. We divide that by 7. That gives us a 6. We bring down our parentheses and the 21y plus 21. We multiply our negative 7 by 42. Looks like that gives us a negative 294. Alright, and then we multiply negative 1 times 42. And then you divide that by 6. That right there should give you negative 7. Alright, so now the problem looks very nice. We got rid of our fractions. Right? Now we can go ahead and multiply 6. And also negative 7. So let's start on the left-hand side. We do 6 times our 21. This is 126y. Then we do 6 times our 21 again, right? This time we don't get a y, just 126. Bring down our minus 294. Now we work with our negative 7. Right? Negative 7 times 6y. Looks like a negative 42y. And we do negative 7 times our negative 24. Negative, 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 positive. So we multiply our 7 by our 24 and we get 168. We can combine these two, right? So I'm going to bring down my 126. And what is 120? I'm bringing down my 126y, that is. Now we do 126 minus 294. That gives us a minus 168. And then we bring everything else down. I see y's on both sides. I see this y and that y. Get rid of the smaller one. All right, so I'm going to add 42y, add 42y, and we do our 126 plus our 42. This gives us 168y. We bring down our minus 168. That cancels. We're left with 168. So we have a whole bunch of 168s here. But this is our y. So we need to get rid of this and that. And we get rid of this first. So we add 168. You add 168. That cancels. We're left with 168. Y equals. Well, now we do 168 plus 168. That gives us our 336. And then our last step would be just to divide both sides by 168. And we get an answer of 2 there. So really nice examples from homework 1.1. And if you have further questions, by all means email me or just schedule a one-on-one. Thank you.